They said, given how actively the Lively parties have publicized and litigated Ms. Lively's claims in the media, we are surprised to now learn how vehemently she wants to prevent the public from accessing material and relevant evidence.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do.
Blake Lively is caught in a whirlwind of backlash, one of the biggest controversies of her entire career. People are now convinced she's been hiding a manipulative, power-hungry side all along. Whispers have turned into full-blown accusations, with critics saying she got too comfortable calling the shots and never expected the tide to turn against her. Many believe she tried to spin the narrative in her favor, but those attempts, a complete failure. Now, fans, bloggers, and Hollywood insiders are pulling their support at record speed. Her social media following is crumbling, and the same people who once praised her are now branding her Hollywood's most hated woman. They insist she's the architect of her own downfall.
Who wrote to me said that they worked on the set of It Ends With Us, okay? And that the villain in this entire story is not Blake Lively, it's not Justin Baldoni, but it is Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan started the fire!
Allegedly. Don't gag order or sue me, Ryan Reynolds, okay? I don't want to be involved in melodrama. I'm just telling my audience what I was told. He goes into Blake Lively's trailer and they have an argument. All of the production assistants overheard the argument.
Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the man she allegedly tried to sabotage, is being seen as the real victim. His support is skyrocketing, and people are rallying behind him, urging him to keep exposing the truth. Before all this, Blake had a golden reputation. Charming, stylish, the picture-perfect wife and devoted actress. Social media was flooded with admiration for her fashion, her family life, and her seemingly warm personality. But that picture-perfect image shattered when shocking rumors surfaced, alleging she was running the set of It Ends With Us like her personal kingdom. Industry insiders claim she acted like she owned the entire production. Sure, she had the title of actress and executive producer, but reports say she took things too far, demanding script rewrites and overruling the director's decisions at every turn. People on set felt trapped, afraid to challenge Blake Lively because they believed she held the power to ruin their careers in an instant. The atmosphere reportedly turned toxic, with some insiders describing it as a reign of fear. Sources started spilling what they called her arrogant and bullying tactics, claiming she used her Hollywood status to silence anyone who dared to oppose her. Then, things took a shocking turn. On February 22nd, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a bombshell, a cover story featuring Blake with a slingshot aimed at Justin Baldoni. The imagery was enough to set social media on fire, with readers taking it as a clear metaphor. Blake wasn't just difficult behind the scenes, she was actively targeting him. Many became convinced she was determined to control every aspect of the film, and the moment he resisted, she flipped the script, making him the villain. After this cover hit the stands, outrage exploded. More and more voices joined the chorus calling Blake out. In an attempt to shift the narrative, she claimed the cover was sexist. But instead of gaining sympathy, her words were met with mockery. Online, people dismissed it as a weak excuse, saying she was just trying to dodge accountability. To them, this wasn't a case of unfair treatment. This was desperation, plain and simple. And the idea that she was some kind of innocent victim? That illusion had completely shattered. At one point, Blake Lively threw a shocking accusation at Justin Baldoni, claiming he had acted inappropriately toward her. But the moment he fired back with receipts, text messages, and proof that contradicted her claims, her entire story started crumbling. Critics immediately pointed out the inconsistencies, arguing that the facts just didn't add up. Legal experts and journalists even compared the situation to past high-profile cases, saying Blake was trying to manipulate the Me Too movement for her own benefit. That's when the tide really turned. Fans who once cheered for her began calling her out, branding her a manipulator and insisting they could no longer believe a word she said. The image of her as a charming, down-to-earth actress completely shattered. People started saying she only acted sweet in public while secretly pulling strings behind the scenes to get what she wanted. Then another bombshell hit. Insiders revealed that Blake and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, allegedly worked behind the scenes to sabotage Justin's ability to promote the film.
Justin says that Blake was determined to make him the real-life villain in her story because she wasn't doing well on the promo tour for the movie. It was very tone-deaf. Her hair care line wasn't doing well. She was trying to sell booze while talking about domestic violence. Justin says the war between himself and Blake really started in May 2023 when they started shooting the movie. He claims that she was organizing a takeover strategy.
Reports claim they made sure he was shut out of key marketing and press events, effectively making him invisible despite his major role in the production. To many observers, this was the final red flag, clear proof that something deeply shady was happening behind the scenes. For a while, Justin Baldoni stayed quiet, letting the storm rage on. But then, he dropped undeniable receipts that shattered Blake Lively's claims. The moment that evidence surfaced, public opinion took a sharp turn. Fans who were once on Blake's side suddenly switched teams, praising Justin for staying calm, collected, and composed. Compared to his steady approach, Blake's actions looked even worse. People started saying it was downright unfair that he was being shut out of something he helped create. Then came another twist. Ryan Reynolds got pulled into the mess. He attempted to defend Blake by joking about the scandal during Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary special. But instead of diffusing the situation, the joke backfired. Viewers who saw the controversy as serious felt his humor was completely tone deaf. Suddenly, Ryan wasn't just an innocent bystander anymore. Some fans started turning on him too. Speculation ran wild that he either knew about Blake's alleged behavior or, even worse, just didn't care. And in Hollywood, no one wants to be attached to a sinking ship. Industry whispers suggested that major players were quietly distancing themselves from the couple, not wanting to get caught up in the drama. Hollywood has never been forgiving to actors who bring chaos. And now, insiders claim Blake has officially become a massive liability. The industry backlash is real. Sources say certain directors are already blacklisting her, too worried about potential on-set conflicts. Even people who once publicly supported Blake, they're going silent, clearly more focused on protecting their own careers. Even some of her closest Hollywood friends are stepping back. And as if that wasn't enough proof, fans have noticed something else. Blake's social media following is plummeting by the day. Reports say Blake Lively has lost hundreds of thousands of followers, while Justin Baldoni's support has skyrocketed. The numbers don't lie. This is a massive shift in public opinion.
Us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully. That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it.
Critics argue that Blake tried to present herself as a champion for women's rights, but in reality, they say she was just using the movement for her own personal gain. Calling out Justin without solid proof backfired big time, making her look completely untrustworthy. And in today's world, social media users don't just take claims at face value, they investigate. As more details surfaced, people saw through the narrative she was pushing, and the backlash exploded. Then, there was the Hollywood Reporter's now infamous cover story. Instead of portraying Blake as a victim, it painted a very different picture. One where she was the one firing shots at Justin. And now, that's exactly how the public sees it. Many believe she wasn't just trying to influence the film, she was actively working to strip Justin of his creative control while making him look like the villain. When she accused the cover art of being offensive, viewers saw it as nothing more than a weak distraction, an attempt to avoid the real issue. That only sped up her downfall. The more people dug into her actions, the more they felt she was using serious issues as a smokescreen to cover up what really happened. And then came the legal bombshell. Reports surfaced claiming Blake may have tried to alter or hide key text messages that didn't support her story. But just inside, they had the originals. If these allegations are true, Blake could be facing even more trouble ahead. And at this point, her reputation is hanging by a thread.
Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively, because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone.
As lawyers began pointing out the glaring inconsistencies in Blake Lively's story, public perception took another major hit. People started believing she was changing her narrative to win sympathy, and the comparisons to the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case became unavoidable. Now, online discussions are flooded with one explosive claim. Blake is the new Amber Heard. Many are convinced she's following the same playbook, and just like before, hidden truths are coming to light that don't work in her favor. Meanwhile, other celebrities, they want nothing to do with this mess. Some might have initially considered defending her, but the second they saw the full picture, they backed off fast. No one in Hollywood wants to be tied to a scandal this messy. Gossip channels on YouTube and social media have picked apart every piece of evidence, breaking it down in detail. The words being used? Controlling, entitled, even a monster. These aren't just casual criticisms. They represent the sheer level of outrage people are feeling. Many now see her as someone who used her fame to manipulate situations behind the scenes. But when things didn't go her way, she played the victim, hoping the public would rally behind her. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni has taken a completely different approach. As a follower of the Baha'i faith, which emphasizes kindness and unity, he refused to engage in public mudslinging. Instead of attacking Blake in the media, he remained calm and composed, letting his lawyers handle the accusations. Some believe Blake misunderstood his background and approach, expecting him to fight back in the way Hollywood typically does. But by keeping his cool, he only gained more respect, while Blake's credibility crumbled even further. Justin Baldoni's calm and composed approach has earned him a wave of new supporters. People see his refusal to engage in petty mudslinging as a sign of maturity and fairness, and in stark contrast, it makes Blake Lively look even worse.
Was what Blake says, a conversation that she heard had taken place with Steve Sarowitz. Steve Sarowitz is the head of Wayfair Studios. He's the co-founder of Wayfair Studios, along with Justin. And she says in this lawsuit that, is it interesting? She says, this is what I heard, he said, but it's presented as a quote in the lawsuit. She says that Steve said, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas.
While she's been throwing accusations left and right, he's stayed above it all, letting the facts speak for themselves. Many now say that his silence only highlights Blake's alleged bullying tactics even more clearly. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds keeps trying and failing to save their public image. His signature humor, usually a fan favorite, is backfiring spectacularly. Every time he tries to joke about the controversy, people cringe, saying this situation is way too serious for comedy. Instead of softening the blow, his attempts at humor are making things worse, damaging his own reputation in the process. And in Hollywood, reputation is everything. Industry insiders whisper that brands and movie producers might start distancing themselves from Ryan if they believe he's too closely tied to Blake's scandal. There are already rumors that the couple is being quietly blacklisted from major events, as powerful figures in the industry don't want to be seen with them. The fear that this controversy will overshadow everything else and drag down projects that have absolutely nothing to do with it. At this point, Blake Lively is facing one of the worst backlashes of her career. The image she carefully crafted over the years, destroyed. Many now believe she was hiding a controlling and manipulative side all along, and when she finally got exposed, she never saw it coming. Critics claim she desperately tried to twist the facts, but it didn't work. Fans, bloggers, and industry insiders are dropping her like never before. Her social media numbers are plummeting, and the same people who once adored her are now calling her Hollywood's most hated woman. And according to them, she has no one to blame but herself. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the man Blake Lively allegedly tried to undermine, is gaining more support than ever. Many now see him as the real victim in this mess, and they're urging him to keep speaking his truth about what really happened.
Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfarer Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd.
Before this scandal erupted, Blake had a sparkling reputation. Fans adored her for her style, her public image as a devoted wife, and her seemingly warm personality. Social media was flooded with admiration for her fashion choices and personal life. But the second rumor surfaced about her controlling behavior on the set of It Ends With Us. That perfect image came crashing down. Insiders spilled shocking claims, alleging that Blake acted like she owned the entire production. Sure, she had the title of actress and executive producer, but reports say she overstepped her role, demanding script changes and overruling the director's decisions at every turn. People working on the set felt powerless to push back, convinced that one wrong move could cost them their careers. The atmosphere? Pure fear. Then, sources started speaking out, describing her behavior as arrogant, bullying, and downright manipulative. They claimed she used her fame to silence anyone who didn't fall in line. And just when things couldn't get any worse, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a bombshell on February 22nd, a cover story featuring Blake with a slingshot aimed directly at Justin Baldoni. The message was loud and clear. She wasn't just difficult behind the scenes, she was actively targeting him. That cover only fueled the backlash, cementing public opinion that Blake was the one pulling the strings, and not in a good way. That explosive cover story didn't just turn heads, it set social media on fire. Readers immediately took it as a clear sign that Blake Lively had been targeting Justin Baldoni behind the scenes. Many were already convinced she was trying to control every aspect of the film, and when he resisted, she flipped the script, painting him as the problem. The backlash only intensified after the cover dropped, drawing even more public outrage. Blake scrambled to do damage control, claiming the cover was sad. But the response? Pure mockery. Social media users weren't buying it for a second. They saw it as nothing more than a desperate attempt to dodge accountability. By now, most people no longer believed she was some innocent victim of unfair treatment. And to make things worse, every time Blake tries to shift blame or claim she's being misunderstood, new facts surface that make her look even worse. One major red flag? She claimed to be afraid of Justin, yet insisted on controlling every single aspect of the movie. The contradiction was glaring, leaving fans more doubtful than ever. Instead of winning people back, her attempts to spin the story are pushing even more observers to side with Justin. And now, there's another major clue that things aren't looking good for Blake: Taylor Swift's silence. Taylor is known for fiercely defending her friends, but in this case, she hasn't said a word. Fans are starting to ask, if Blake is really the victim here, why isn't one of her most powerful allies speaking up for her? Some think Taylor's staying out of it to avoid the controversy, while others believe her silence says everything. Either way, it's a huge red flag, and yet another sign that Blake's downfall might be worse than anyone expected. At this point, many believe even Taylor Swift wants nothing to do with Blake Lively's mess. Fans are used to seeing Taylor write heartfelt public messages of support for her closest friends, but when it comes to Blake, not a single word. Her silence is deafening, and people are convinced it means defending Blake is simply too risky. Now, the big question is, can Blake Lively ever recover from this? Some say there's still a tiny chance, but only if she owns up to her mistakes, apologizes for her actions, and stops twisting the facts. But so far, she's done none of that. Instead, she's doubling down, claiming that a hidden agenda is fueling the backlash and insisting that Justin is the real villain. But here's the problem. That strategy is falling apart. The more she pushes this narrative, the more people are calling her dishonest and manipulative. She's losing ground fast, and even former supporters are saying her credibility is beyond repair. This scandal isn't just about Blake. It's also sending a major warning about how the Me Too movement is handled in Hollywood. Fans are furious, saying serious movements shouldn't be used as a shield for personal vendettas. Many believe Blake's actions hurt real victims by making it harder for people to believe legitimate claims. What was once a glittering Hollywood image is now a full-blown disaster. People aren't just disappointed in Blake, they're angry. And at this point, the damage might be permanent. Now, the damage isn't just to Blake Lively's reputation. It's to the credibility of real victims. Many people believe she made it harder for genuine stories of abuse to be taken seriously, and that's a stain that won't wash away easily. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's career is soaring. Despite allegations that he was nearly shut out of his own film's promotion, he stayed calm, composed, and let the truth speak for itself. The way he handled himself throughout the scandal earned him massive respect from fans and industry insiders alike. Now, some are predicting his career is about to take off like never before. He's being hailed as a man of integrity, someone who refused to sink into messy public fights and instead defended himself with professionalism. Hollywood loves an actor who appears reliable and steady, and if studio heads are paying attention, they might be lining up to work with him next. But Blake? Her future is looking bleak. Insiders whisper that certain producers don't want to take the risk of hiring someone who might demand script changes or bring massive negative press. The once coveted A-list star is now rumored to be losing major opportunities. Some deals that were once in the works, quietly halted. Others, possibly dropped altogether. Her fans are shocked by the stark contrast between the warm, approachable star they once admired and the power-hungry Hollywood player painted by these accusations. The disappointment is real, and for some, it feels like betrayal. People are asking why she couldn't just do her job as an actress and executive producer, why she felt the need to seize control of the entire production. She once had it all: fame, a thriving career, a powerful Hollywood husband, and a fiercely loyal fan base. But this scandal, it may have brought her fairy tale life crashing down. Because in Hollywood, once the public loses respect for a star, it's nearly impossible to get it back. Blake Lively's fall from grace has been nothing short of shocking. She was once Hollywood's sweetheart, celebrated as a fashion icon and beloved public figure. But now, those old compliments feel hollow in the wake of accusations about her controlling behavior and questionable honesty. And it's not just her reputation taking a hit. Ryan Reynolds' brand is slipping too. He was once the undisputed king of cool, a fan favorite known for his humor and easygoing charm. But by standing by Blake's version of events, and worse, trying to joke his way through the controversy, he now risks being seen as someone who doesn't take serious issues seriously. Fans are questioning everything. How much of his relatable persona is real? Or has it all just been an act? Some have even started talking about boycotting his projects if he continues to shrug off the scandal. And in Hollywood, where public perception is everything, this could be a major risk for him too. As for Blake, her chances of bouncing back look slim. Many believe there's only one way out: a genuine apology, admitting to her mistakes on set, and taking responsibility without pointing fingers. But so far, she's done the exact opposite. Instead of owning up, she's doubling down, constantly adding new twists to the story, shifting blame to Justin, the media, even the audience for misunderstanding her. But this isn't winning anyone over. In fact, it's only pushing more people away. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's public image has skyrocketed. He went from being pushed aside in his own film to becoming a symbol of resilience. Fans respect that he hasn't stooped to cruelty despite Blake's attacks. Instead, he stayed composed, let the facts speak for themselves, and refused to play dirty. And now, he's walking away from this mess with his reputation stronger than ever, while Blake's might be beyond repair. Instead of fighting fire with fire, Justin Baldoni let the receipts do the talking, and the public made up their own minds. What they saw, a man who was unfairly targeted by one of Hollywood's most powerful couples, yet handled the storm with dignity. Now, people who never paid much attention to him before are suddenly flocking to his social media, eager to follow his next moves. His fan base is growing fast, and not just because of sympathy, they respect how he carried himself through it all. Many believe he was treated unfairly, and they're making it clear they want to support him. But this scandal exposes something much bigger. The dark side of fame. Blake Lively was once Hollywood royalty, a golden girl with a dream career, a picture-perfect marriage, and an image of being warm and charming. But in a flash, all of that came crashing down. And what started it all? The very movie she allegedly tried to control. If she had stayed in her lane, if she had simply played her role without trying to dominate the entire production, maybe she would still be praised and adored. But now, she's at risk of being blacklisted. Insiders whisper that major studios don't want the baggage that comes with her anymore. The big question remains, is this the end of Blake Lively's Hollywood career? At this point, it all depends on what she does next. Will she keep insisting she's the victim? Or will she finally take some responsibility and try to salvage what's left of her image? The public is watching, and with new details still emerging, one thing is clear. Blake Lively is standing on the edge of Hollywood's exit door. Whether she gets pushed out or finds a way back in, that's up to her. Blake Lively might try to rebrand herself in the future, but at this point, it seems like a major apology would be the only way fans might even consider listening. To many, the truth about her behavior has finally been exposed. They see her as someone who wanted total control, someone who silenced anyone who dared to push back. And in contrast, Justin Baldoni is now seen as the calm, level-headed one, the man who was nearly erased but stood his ground. The numbers tell the story. Blake's followers are vanishing by the thousands, while Justin's support is skyrocketing. The public has made up its mind. This scandal is still a major conversation online, but most people believe Blake's career has already taken the hit. The only question left? Can she make real changes and regain even a fraction of the trust she's lost? Because right now the power has shifted, and she's the one left on the losing end. What do you think? Will Blake find a way back, or is this truly the end for her in Hollywood? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. It helps more than you know, and I'll keep bringing you the latest updates and biggest stories in entertainment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.